Okay, hello, end of day 21. So it's been a really long day and it's not been terribly productive, I'm afraid. So it's been a day of prompt engineering with Gemini with not a lot of progress. I think I might actually be behind in terms of functionality compared to where I was yesterday. So I think this is best told perhaps through the story is best told through my commits. So the reason I think Gemini wasn't following instructions particularly well yesterday is I don't think that the role messages were actually being added to the context. So I decided I would add everything to the task messages. And generally speaking, actually, I'm not sure what the point of the distinction between role messages and task messages are, considering you can just put it in the task messages and both of them just add it to context for all types of LLMs, right? So for Gemini, then, I decided I would use task messages and add the instructions there. Now, the goal today was to try and get the consent node working perfectly. And like the shot engineering and the examples did sort of help, but the issue I was having specifically was when it comes to calling functions consistently. What I would find is that sometimes it would just say that it was going to call a function with a certain parameter rather than actually calling it. And sometimes it would say the line before it would call a function. Normally when it would call the function right after, it would instead wait for me to say something else before it called the function. And actually, if you changed your answer, it would call the function with the opposite answer. So it was still receptive to being adjusted there as well. So it was just not desired behavior. And strangely, this behavior was introduced by the introduction of instructions, which specifically tell it not to ever talk about its functions and to call the functions immediately after establishing what the consent is and what information needs to be established to call the function. And I saw some pretty maddening behavior in terms of, like, if I would add an extra line break after examples, it would suddenly start consistently working, right? And literally the only difference, like if I put an enter here, like it would suddenly consistently work. And then if I removed it, it would stop working again. And this behavior was consistent. And I tried changing the temperature also from everything between 0.0 to 2.0. And the behavior, the way it spoke, everything was just completely the same, to the point where I was wondering if actually it's even passing the temperature. So, I mean, I checked the code and it seems to be, but I don't know. One of the things that I noticed is, well, just recently noticed, is that the maximum tokens is 4,096, and the length of the prompt I was generating, according to OpenAI's tokenizer, was quite large. For the consent node, it was 1,600 tokens, and for the development node, it was 2,500 tokens. So I've tried now increasing that in my settings to the million tokens which are available there, but I'm going to try, I think, next time to try and reduce that down to under 1,000 tokens. And yeah, so let me just tell you what I was going to try. I mean, I started pretty optimistic today. I thought I was going to be able to just give the node examples of undesired outputs in addition to desired outputs. So change the examples to desired output, and then I was going to add, I did add in fact, some undesired outputs somewhere. So basically, after, you can see around here, after I everything to task messages, this is when there's a long break between commits where I'm just going around in circles, not making much progress. And about 6 p.m., I was pretty much at my wit's end. And I was asking Perplexity then, are there any guides to prompting Gemini 2.0 Flash out there? And it said yes, and it came up with a good summary. And one of the things it mentioned is that Google AI Studio has a prompt generator. So I went and used that to adjust my prompts, and I was very excited because it seemed like it came up with some good suggestions. And again, it started working, but again, I had this weird issue where if I had an extra line break in certain places, it would just not work consistently again, like with the function calling specifically. It's always the function calling that I've had issues with. And yeah, I mean, I really don't know what to say. I'm pretty confused. Carried on doing this. Essentially, because of the way this was not working, I decided I needed a completely new strategy. So, I mean, I say new few-shot prompting strategy, but this is really more a mix of examples and not. So what I'm doing now, you can see in the examples here, I'm like giving the examples literally here of what are affirmative examples and what are examples of like consent denied negatives. Specifically examples then of unclear ones. So for example, no, that's fine. Previously it would accept that. This actually sort of fixed it, and it's sort of working consistently now, but it just doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah, I'm not really sure what to say. I don't have anything useful, I think, at this point. And next steps, I guess I'm going to have to experiment with the increased token length, whether that makes any difference, because, I mean, Gemini is a large context model. I'm going to try reducing the length and complexity of my prompts on each node and just see where I get. Yeah, so tomorrow's Sunday. There's going to be no video tomorrow. Next video will be on Monday, and I'll be trying to figure this out in the meantime. So yeah, hope you have a wonderful weekend, everyone.